You ever walk into a room and feel like someone just took over without saying a word? They didn't raise their voice. They didn't flex. But suddenly, everyone's energy shifted toward them. You didn't know whether to fear them, follow them, or get out of their way. That's not luck. That's not charm. That's not coincidence. That's strategy. It's intentional. That's dominance. And if you think it's about being loud or aggressive or flashy, you've already lost the game. Dominance isn't about who talks the most. It's about who controls the room when they say nothing at all. To outsmart anyone, anywhere, anytime, requires one thing first: restraint. You want to dominate? Then don't show your cards. Hold back. People rush to prove how smart they are. They interrupt. They over-explain. They try to win by talking. But intelligent power plays are quiet. The real ones observe, calculate, and speak only when the timing is perfect. And that silence makes people lean in. It makes them question what you know. It creates mystery. And mystery is power. When they can't read you, they fear you, or they follow you. Either way, you win. You want to know what real power looks like. It's not the person shouting the loudest. It's not the one constantly trying to prove how smart they are. It's the one who doesn't need to. Power is restraint. It's the ability to hold your tongue when every part of you wants to speak. It's knowing you could say something, do something, react, but you choose not to. Because here's the truth: the more you speak, the more you give away. Your thoughts, your emotions, your insecurities, your intent. It all leaks out through your words. And when you're always talking, you're not watching. You're not calculating. You're not listening for the real game happening under the surface. People underestimate the strength it takes to stay silent. To not react. To not defend yourself. But silence isn't weakness. It's strategy. You give people just enough to keep them guessing. You watch how they fill the silence. You listen to what they reveal when they're uncomfortable. And most of the time, they'll tell you everything you need to know. If you're disciplined enough to stay quiet and just watch. Most people walk into a situation and immediately try to assert dominance by talking over others. They try to control with noise. But that's surface level, temporary. Loud fades fast. What lasts is presence. When you hold back, when you pause before speaking, when you measure your words, that gets attention. That makes people lean in. That shifts the dynamic. Suddenly, they're waiting on you. And that moment, that's where control begins. You don't need to dominate with volume. You dominate with intention. You speak only when your words carry weight. Because every time you choose restraint, you become more dangerous, more respected, and far more unforgettable. Predictability is weakness. The moment someone can anticipate your next move, they've already started working against you. You think power is about always being right, always being consistent, always responding the same way. No, power is being unreadable. It's keeping people off balance. When they think you'll explode, you smile. When they expect you to cave, you hold the line. When they assume you'll chase, you walk away. That unpredictability. It creates discomfort. It forces people to think twice before they try to manipulate, confront, or challenge you. Most people operate like open books. They wear their emotions on their sleeves, they show their cards way too early, and then they wonder why others use that information against them. Stop being so easy to read. You want to be the most powerful person in the room, be the one no one can figure out. Let them guess. Let them wonder. Let them talk behind your back, because they can't predict where you stand. That psychological uncertainty is not just a defense. It's offense. It's how you get people to hesitate before crossing you. It's how you create space without having to ask for it. You don't have to be cold or distant to be unpredictable. You just need to stop giving people the same version of you every time. Switch gears. Sometimes be direct. Sometimes be quiet. Sometimes walk away when you could stay. Make it so no one can find your pattern. Because once people think they've got you figured out, they'll start writing the narrative for you. And when that happens, you're not in control anymore. You're following a script they built. Break that script. Erase it. Be the plot twist they never see coming. That's how you keep your edge. That's how you stay ahead. Control doesn't start with other people. It starts with you. You cannot dominate anything in this world if you can't first dominate yourself. That means your impulses, your reactions, your emotions. The person who loses their cool, who lets their buttons be pushed, who reacts to every insult or trigger, that person is not powerful. That person is predictable, and predictable people are easy to control. You think it's strength to clap back, to prove a point, to let them know they messed with the wrong one. That's ego talking, and ego is loud, reckless, and always in a rush to be seen. But control, real control, is quiet. It's calm. It doesn't need an audience. When someone comes at you with disrespect, provokes you, tries to throw you off, don't give them what they expect. Let them throw punches in the air. Let them drown in their own drama while you stand there, unmoved. Because when you don't react, you force them to. People test you all the time. Not to see your power, but to see if they can access it. Can they drag you into chaos? Can they rattle your composure? The second you bite, the second you let them alter your mood, you've handed them control. So keep your center. Stay grounded. That ability to hold your frame when everything around you is trying to break it. That is mental dominance. That is emotional strength. You don't just walk into a room and take over. You hold that room by never letting anything or anyone pull you out of your alignment. That's how power works. It's not about proving you're the strongest. It's about proving nothing can shake you. Let them think you're not a threat. Let them believe you're just average, distracted, maybe even naive. That's your advantage. The moment someone underestimates you, they lower their guard. They stop being careful. They show their strategy. They speak more freely. And that's when you collect everything you need. See, the smartest people in the room rarely look like it. They blend. They let others feel smarter, louder, stronger. Because dominance isn't about showing power. It's about owning it without needing recognition. When you let people think you're not paying attention, they get sloppy. They reveal details they wouldn't otherwise share. They underestimate your ability to read between the lines. And that's where the shift happens. While they're focused on winning the spotlight, you're already 10 steps ahead, watching, collecting, calculating. Let them be blinded by their own ego. Let them waste energy trying to impress you or challenge you. Meanwhile, you're storing information, watching patterns, noticing what they miss. And when the time comes to strike, you do with precision, no warning, no drama, just results. They won't even see it coming, because they never imagined you were a player in the game. That's the beauty of being underestimated. It gives you full control of the element of surprise. People who think they've figured you out are easy to defeat, because they prepare for the wrong version of you. And when they finally see what you're capable of, it's too late. You've already won. That's not luck. That's intentional. That's what happens when you make invisibility your greatest weapon. If you want to outsmart people, stop listening just to their words. Words lie. Words are polished. Words are rehearsed. What doesn't lie is body language. What doesn't lie is tone, micro-expressions. That tiny pause before someone answers a question. That sudden shift in eye contact. The nervous twitch in a hand. The throat clear. That's where the real story is. But most people miss it because they're too focused on what's being said, not on what's really being communicated. Start walking into every room like it's a training ground. You're not just part of the conversation, you're dissecting it in real time. You're scanning every gesture, every hesitation, every shift in energy. People give themselves away constantly, especially when they think you're not paying attention. They show you their fears, their insecurities, their pressure points, and when you become someone who can read all of that, without a single word, you become someone who controls the narrative without ever having to push. It's not about being paranoid, it's about being aware. Hyper-aware. Because when you walk into a room knowing more about everyone else than they know about you, you have the advantage. You can steer, guide, redirect, without forcing it. You ask the questions that hit nerves. You press gently where it hurts. You make people feel seen in a way they can't explain. And the moment someone feels seen, truly seen, they either follow you or fear you. That's power. Not the kind that shouts. The kind that sees everything, and never needs to be seen to control it. You have to stop needing people to like you. That need. It's a trap. It's the leash they'll use to control you. Because the second your value is tied to someone else's approval, you've handed over your power. You're not thinking clearly anymore. You're not operating from strength. You're adjusting yourself to fit their comfort zone, their expectations, their standards. And guess what? They will shift those standards on you over and over until you forget who you were before you started chasing validation. You want to be unshakable. You want real presence. Then detach from the need to be liked. Because when you don't need the room to love you, you can finally lead it. You stop performing. You stop deluding yourself. And that's when people start paying attention. Not to a version of you they molded, but to the real one they can't manipulate. When you walk in with nothing to prove, nothing to beg for, nothing to explain, that's intimidating. That's rare. Because most people are desperate for acceptance and it shows. People sense when you want something from them. And when you need validation, they will use it. They'll withhold it to keep you small. They'll feed it to you to keep you loyal. But if you want to dominate, really dominate, you have to be willing to walk into every room knowing who you are, with or without applause. With or without attention. When you hold that kind of internal certainty, nobody can play you. You become unmovable, not because you're cold, but because you're complete. You're not there to be liked. You're there to be respected. There's a difference, and only one of those lasts. People will always try to pull you into their that's how they gain control. By getting you to react on their terms. They'll provoke you, challenge you, insult you, flatter you. Anything to trigger a response. Because the moment you react emotionally, you're no longer strategic. You're not thinking. You're not observing. You're caught in their storm, and that's exactly where they want you. But when you stay grounded, when you refuse to be moved, they start to lose power. They become the one spiraling, not you. Every emotional outburst you witness is a map. Anger shows you their wounds. Insecurity shows you their limits. Arrogance shows you their fear of being exposed. People expose themselves when they think you're not looking, or worse, when they think you've lost control. But if you stay calm, if you don't bite, if you just watch, you get access to everything they're trying to hide. Because most people don't realize how much they give away when they're trying to dominate a moment. And here's the twist. They'll try to paint your calm as weakness. They'll say you're cold, unfeeling, detached. Let them. They're trying to make you react, and when you don't, it eats at them. They'll push harder. And all the while, you're gaining more intel. You're seeing their tactics. You're watching them unravel. You're learning exactly where to strike, if and when you choose to. That's the real game. Not showing strength through force, but through restraint. When they swing wild and you don't even flinch, you show them never had power over you to begin with. That's the kind of control that doesn't just win the moment. It wins the war. It's easy to dominate a conversation. Loud voices, clever words, sharp comebacks. That's basic. That's surface. That's the kind of control people chase when they don't understand where the real power lies. Because the truth is, the most powerful person in any interaction is not the one who talks the most. It's the one who decides how it ends. The one who controls the outcome. And that kind of control doesn't come from volume. It doesn't come from being right. It comes from understanding the flow of the situation and quietly steering it while everyone else is too busy performing. You walk into a room and people are posturing, trying to be impressive, trying to be intimidating. It's all noise. It's noise because it's reactive. They're trying to win the moment instead of owning the direction. But when you know how to control an outcome, you don't get pulled into their game. You set your own. You don't argue just to be heard. You speak only when you can guide things where they need to go. You don't insert yourself into every issue. You involve yourself only when you've already seen the long game, already calculated how it plays out. That's how you dominate. By being intentional. By understanding that every word, every silence, every move is part of a larger strategy. Think about it. Most people walk into conversations thinking in terms of response. What do I say next? How do I look smart? How do I win this back and forth? But smart doesn't win if it doesn't change anything. If you're not shifting dynamics, if you're not moving the needle, if you're not redirecting tension or influencing decisions, then all you're doing is making noise. You want to be more than impressive. Then stop trying to win moments. Start designing outcomes. That means you learn to listen for more than words. You study what the room needs. You ask, what's the real goal here? What's the fear under the aggression? What's the pressure point beneath the confidence? What are they really trying to protect? Because once you know that, once you've read it clearly, you hold the key to influence. Not through force, not through domination, but through understanding exactly what to press and when. You guide people without them realizing they're being guided. And don't mistake this for manipulation. This isn't about tricking anyone. It's about having such a deep understanding of human nature that you can read ahead in the conversation like you're turning pages in a book. You're not reacting to what's said in real time. You've already seen the next 3 moves. That's how high-level professionals operate. That's how elite interrogators operate. That's how leaders, deal-makers, protectors, and strategists operate. They don't control every word that's spoken, but they control what those words lead to. Control the pace. Don't let urgency rush you. People who want to overpower you will use urgency as a tactic. They'll pressure you to respond fast, to decide quickly, to react now. Slow it down. When you slow down the pace, you reset the balance. You give yourself room to think. And more importantly, you take their control away, because urgency is emotional, and emotion clouds judgment. But when you move slow, calm, steady, you see everything, you make space for clarity, you turn chaos into order, and when everyone else is spinning out, you're the anchor in the middle of the storm. That alone changes the outcome. Then there's your tone. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. In fact, the quieter you get, the more people lean in. The more controlled your tone is, the more tension you create. It forces people to listen carefully. And when people are listening closely, they're more likely to absorb. Not just hear, but internalize what you're saying. You create gravity around your voice. You turn words into direction, and you do it by refusing to match their chaos. You don't mirror tension. You absorb it and redirect it like a current. You hold your ground so completely that the conversation starts bending around you. You also control outcomes by knowing when not to engage. This is where most people lose their power. They think every challenge requires a response. They take the bait. They get pulled into small games. But when you operate with purpose, you let the small things slide. You don't engage in battles that don't move your strategy forward. You let other people waste their energy trying to prove points, while you conserve yours for what actually matters. And that's the difference between being emotionally driven and being mission-driven. One keeps you in reactive cycles. The other keeps you in command. When you control outcomes, you shift the emotional current of the entire room. You lower conflict without raising your voice. You turn confrontation into conversation. You bring clarity into chaos. And you do it without ever needing the spotlight. You don't have to look dominant to be dominant. You don't have to win the room's attention to win the result. Because your power isn't in what people see. It's in what they feel when they engage with you. They feel your composure. They feel your certainty. They feel your stability. And whether they understand it or not, they adjust around it. You'll know you've reached this level of dominance when people start repeating your language without realizing it. When decisions start going your way, and no one remembers how that shift happened. When people start looking to you for cues without you ever asking for their attention. That's outcome control. That's silent leadership. That's psychological presence. The best part, no one can take it from you. Because it's not rooted in status or title or volume. It's rooted in discipline, awareness, and strategy. And that's the kind of power that stays with you in every room, every conversation, every confrontation. For life. Ego will destroy you faster than any opponent ever could. You think it's strength, but it's a liability. Ego is reactive, it's emotional, it's fragile, and it whispers all the wrong things. Prove them wrong, show them who you are. Don't let that slide. But that voice gets people in trouble. That voice makes you fight battles that don't matter. It drags you into conversations that cost more than they're worth. It turns you into someone who operates from pride instead of purpose. When you move from ego, your choices stop being about the outcome and start being about how you're seen. You lose sight of what actually matters. And here's the truth most people can't face. If you need to be seen as powerful, you're not. Because real power doesn't need validation. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't even need to be recognized. Power just is quiet, stable, focused. Let someone cut you off. Let them challenge you. Let them underestimate you. That's fine. If you're in control of yourself, you won't take the bait. You won't react to prove anything. You'll watch. You'll evaluate. And you'll decide if it even deserves a response. That's what people don't understand. Walking away isn't weakness. Choosing not to engage isn't surrender. It's strategy. When you remove ego from the equation, you become dangerous. Because now you're not fighting for pride. You're fighting for position, for peace, for precision. And that scares people more than any outburst ever could. The person with the most ego in the room is the one who needs to be seen, who needs to be heard, who needs constant reassurance. They're loud, but unstable. And when they fall hard, because their identity was built on being right, being liked, being dominant. You build differently. You build from the inside, from restraint, from clarity, from purpose. Which means when you're challenged, your first instinct isn't to defend, it's to assess, to ask, is this worth my energy? And if the answer is no, you move on. No drama, no explanation. That level of control, that comes from killing your ego every single day. From choosing self-mastery over self-importance. From knowing who you are so completely that no one else's opinion has the power to define you. That's when you're unstoppable. Not because you're the loudest, but because nothing can pull you off your center if you really want to dominate. Stop trying to impress people with noise. Stop announcing every move. Stop explaining yourself, defending yourself, advertising your worth. That's not power. That's insecurity dressed up as confidence. Power moves in silence. It's precise. It's intentional. It doesn't need attention to function. It doesn't need validation to act. The most dangerous person in the room is the one who says the least and observes the most. Because that person isn't caught in the performance. They're calculating. They're measuring. They're 3 steps ahead while everyone else is still trying to be noticed. Real presence doesn't beg to be seen. It demands respect without saying a word. It's in your posture. It's in your stillness. It's in your timing. The way you wait before speaking. The way your eyes hold someone's without flinching. The way you choose exactly the right moment to act. Not because you're trying to dominate, but because you already do. It's not random. It's not passive. It's surgical. True strength, everything you say and do has weight because you've trained yourself not to waste anything. Strength, you don't need to tell people you're powerful when you move like someone who can't be shaken. You don't need to declare your intelligence when your restraint speaks louder than your opinions. And you don't need to outshine anyone, because you've already outmaneuvered them. That's what real dominance looks like. It's not the one making the most noise in the room. It's the one controlling the room without raising their voice. It's the one whose silence makes people uncomfortable. The one whose calm presence forces people to adjust how they speak, how they sit, how they think. People rely on volume because they're unsure of themselves. They try to intimidate, they try to impress. But when you know who you are, when you're solid, you let your movement, your discipline, your consistency speak for you. You act with purpose. You show up with clarity. And that alone creates pressure. It creates space. It commands attention without asking for it. Because at that point, people don't follow you because you demand it. They follow you because they feel something they can't explain. Something stable, something unshakable, something rare. You become the kind of person who doesn't just walk into a room. You shift the energy of it. Not with noise, but with precision. Not with force, but with presence. That's the edge. That's the win. Every time. So if you really want to outsmart anyone, if you want total dominance, not the fake, performative kind, but the kind that lasts, you need to stop playing the game like everyone else. You don't chase attention, you command presence. You don't react, you respond with strategy. You don't speak to be heard, you speak to move. You lead by observing, by listening, by mastering yourself before trying to influence anyone else. Because at the highest level, dominance isn't about controlling others. It's about being in such control of yourself that no one can touch you mentally, emotionally, or psychologically. And when you move like that, quiet, precise, grounded, you don't just win, you own the room without ever needing to announce it.